Hello, everyone. Welcome, everyone, on our webinar. We will talk you through about some connections that you can make with memoQ. So before handing it over to our presenter today, let me just do a quick housekeeping about the webinar itself. So the webinar is recorded and it will be available on our site. You will receive an email when we uploaded it. There also all of you who joined today will receive the Q&A sheet. So if there will be any questions which was unanswered, we will send you the answer there, and also there will be timestamps on those questions which will be answered live by our presenter. The presentation will be about 45 minutes long, and then we will have time for the questions. If you have any questions during the presentation or after that, please use the Q&A panel on the Zoom settings. And then let me introduce our presenters, our solution engineer, Jure Dernovsek. Jure, I hope you are here and can hear me and take the mic from me.
Loud and clear, yes. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can.
Okay, wonderful. And let me also share the screen so that you can also see that. Okay, wonderful. Yes, welcome everybody to today's presentation or webinar or discussion. Connectivity is actually one of my favorite topics, and also one of the topics that is always that is always active in the translation industry and with memoQ as well. Basically, we receive requests for connectors on a daily basis, and especially from enterprises, because it's normal. Like, and if you're an enterprise or an LSP, you have systems in place that you want to connect to memoQ, which is a TMS or a CAT tool, depending on the perspective. But you want to streamline the content flow. So the content is created in your other system, in one system, and then you maybe want to use a business management system where you do things like invoicing or quoting. And then you want to, of course, have this connected to the translation environment where the linguists can work, reviewers can work. And then once you would be done with the translation, you would, of course, then want that this content flows back up the stream and lands in the desired location, whether be it a website page or some document that is translated that lands in a specific place, or something else, maybe some strings in the software. So the paths can be totally different. The combinations can be very different, and also the nuances can be very different. So this is something that we'll also discuss today, because I wanted to show you what we have been currently working on, and what we will be working on, and what are some common perceptions of connectivity, some challenges, some misperceptions, so things like that. We'll discuss this on a high level, but I'll also show you on concrete examples some nice things that we have done recently, and some things that we'll be working on. So this is as an intro. Now, before we go into more detail, I usually like to ask the audience for some feedback. And as I mentioned, connectors, or the requests for connectors, come up daily, and I would like to see in this group today, what are your wishes for connectors, for connectivity. And for that reason, I would like to invite you, if you could go to the website www.menti.com. It can be on your computer or on your phone or a tablet, and then enter the code. So it's www.menti.com, and use the code 7981 0656. So it's www.menti.com, and the code is 79810656. There are 2 slides, so we will not go into too much details. I'm really curious to see which system would you like to see that memoQ would build a connector for next. So we'll go through some of the connectors that we have developed, but I would be curious to see today what would be your utmost urgent requirements. So Schema ST4 and Cosima Go, great. So those are authoring systems, and the good news is for both of them, I'll explain that there are some possibilities. Okay, Drupal, that's also good. So we got one more Schema. So this also depends, the connectivity requests also from region, because for instance, Schema and Cosima are very popular in Europe, especially in the enterprises that produce technical documentation, machinery, be it automation, any parts, anything that you have technical documentation. They are very popular. So this is a great. So we got Delta Ray. I must confess, this is the first time I hear about Delta Ray. So, but we can definitely investigate it. We also log these requests internally, and the list is actually quite long already. What's also interesting is that sometimes some of the systems get bought, especially Adobe is right now quite active. So they bought Magento, which was one system, and recently they bought Figma. So they're merging. So this is a very popular topic. So companies want to kind of control or own the content flow. So okay, we'll leave it at that. So, but Schema is here quite often requested. So now we'll go to the next one, and this is also an interesting one. So how much would you actually pay for such a connector, or how much do you think that developing a customer connector costs? This is a question that we very commonly get asked in sales. So it is a simple question. How much does a Schema ST4 connector cost? Or how much does a Drupal connector cost? Or any other connector, without any specifications? And we'll get back to this question later. But I would just like to see what is your perception, or how much would you be willing to pay for a specific connector? And yeah, because there was a perception of building connectors in the past and what we have now. So we are ranging towards below 5K euro. It may be a hint to us that we should not price it more. But okay, let's assume. But this is actually quite good. So we are ranging between, let's say, sub 5 to 20K, and realistically, I can tell that if something goes beyond 20K, and I rarely see this, then it must be something very special, and it can have to do with some additional licenses that we have to purchase or something else. And below 5K, this is something that maybe will not happen that often, but it depends. It depends. We'll also see later what actually the word connector can mean. But yeah, the range between 5 to 20K, that is the range where you could expect connectors to be priced. One other thing is that memoQ's current situation is that building connectors as a core product and maintaining them, this is not currently the top priority of production. But we have a team of business services that that can help you with custom connectors, and we do this. Basically, we handle requests, filter them, and then yeah, basically build custom connectors for specific clients, or amend existing connectors with new use cases. So, and here we can talk about different pricing. If you would maybe amend a connector, then you could expect a sub 5K connector, but if it's from scratch, usually we are ranging somewhere between 5 and to 20K. So, okay. Anyways, if you have a request for a connector, feel free to drop us a note, and we'll handle it. But anyways, we'll go back to this topic a bit later. So now I would like to thank you, by the way, for the answers. We'll leave this here, and now let me go over here and show you a landscape of some of the connectors. They are not ordered that we cover, but what you can find is connectors that can range from business management solutions like Plunet, LBS, Protemos, FlowFit, to web management sites, like for instance WordPress. We got BeLazy here that connects memoQ to, let's say, a business management solution. So that's also interesting. Then we got some terminology management connectivity here related to QuickTerm. So website management systems like eSpirit, recently bought by CrownPeak, or rebranded to CrownPeak. Then we got a Jira connector, Git connector. So different scopes of connectors. What is also here important to note is that we, as memoQ, don't build all these connectors. So some connectors, or here actually most of the connectors, were built by partners or by companies itself. We can provide consultancy, and then the clients or the requesters or third parties can build connectors for other clients or for themselves. So this scope was now recently amended with two connectors. One is Adobe Experience Manager, and the other one is, I would put it, a PIM, let's say a Koti connector. And with Koti connector, I mean a connector that supports the Koti standard. I'll talk about that very shortly. So, and the system that was connecting memoQ to so that we were connecting memoQ to was Informatica. Informatica is a PIM system, product information management system, and I'll tell you, and I'll also show you how this one works. So these connectors, in most cases, were, as said, done by third parties or by us. As a core product, we support Git connectors and WordPress. Other ones are done by third parties or by business management solutions. And this is also important because if we, as memoQ, develop something as a core product, then we also vouch for the updates. If it's a custom development, then the updates that fall in the line of business services. So this is also an important aspect, but just so that you know that we have two, let's say, possibilities how we develop connectors internally, either as core products or as part of the business services solution, as custom development. Usually how the journey starts is we start with a custom development. We cover a couple of use cases, typically for one client. And then if the next client comes to us asking for the same connector, we check if the use cases are similar or the same. In ideal case, then we amend it or let's say resell it. And then if production will see that we have enough of those requests, then this connector can be turned into a core product. This is important because if that happens, then the core production will make sure that it's up and running. So it takes care of the updates. So just so that you know how these things internally work. Now, Adobe Experience Manager is the one that we'll talk briefly. So Adobe, as said, is quite active currently in acquisitions and in content creation and stream. So they have a range of products and services that support you with content creation and management. And Adobe Experience Manager is a website, let's say CMS, that allows you to, so the system that we are connecting to and the connector for this system allows you to translate websites and assets. So this is how it currently stands. And this is already important because if you have something else here, this will not be supported, but usually it's websites. And how does the connector work? So I have here slides because this is this was a client deployment. So we will not go into a live environment and play around there. So I did some screenshots. How does it work? You log in to Adobe Experience Manager, and then you would pick, if you are translating websites, you would pick your websites, and then you would create a language copy. And then you would pick memoQ as the provider, a memoQ template, and then you would create a translation project. You could also then select subpages in this translation project, and then you would click on Start, and this would send the request to memoQ to create a project, and then you could monitor it. Statuses would be synced, and once the translation would be done, in memoQ this can be configured. So for instance, you can say when all the files are translated, then you can return the content back to Adobe, or you can have specific triggers that are defined in memoQ templates. So, but the point is that, yes, once that criterion is reached, then you will expect the content to be returning to Adobe. If you are translating digital assets, then this process is slightly different, but similar in essence. So we are picking the resource. Basically, we are creating a project, translation project. We are selecting memoQ as the provider, the template in memoQ that will process the requests, and then we will add content to be translated. Then we'll create a language copy again, and then we will get the copies back, and once they are translated. So in essence, it is similar. Now, this is a specific workflow. It is a custom solution, and this already opens some questions. Now, we will talk shortly about standardization of this workflow. The problem is that there is actually no standardization. We could have here something completely custom, and this connector that we have will not map that. And if we check, for instance, I'll show you now on one connector that is kind of standardized, or yeah, that we connect to a plugin that is, let's say, meant for localization, meant for translation of the website. So for instance, if I show you now how does the WordPress connector look like, and I'll tell you what the issue is there. So for instance, this is the website that is hosted on WordPress. So the WordPress has a plugin that is called WPML plugin. So you could see it here. And here in this plugin, this is actually what memoQ connects to. Here you can then see in the translation management tab your websites that will be then translated. You will see here the statuses, all fine. The problem here can be, but not just here, just in general, this is the general characteristic. If you have, for instance, in WordPress or somewhere else, something custom, or some plugins, some widgets, there is a chance that the connector that you have, anyone, may not map the content. So you will not actually see it for translation. For instance, here, we could have a WooCommerce plugin that we use for web shop, and whatever you have here, if you want to localize or translate products, you will not find that here. So you would need to go with a different workflow. So this is just one example. You could have different widgets. So, or for instance, if you imagine HubSpot, HubSpot is a marketing sales tool. And you will see, if you Google this, HubSpot connector for XYZ system, that some may actually provide connectors for it. Let's say connectors in quotation marks, because what you can definitely expect that there is that if you will deploy any kind of a connector to your HubSpot, you may have some specific content there, some widgets, some add-ons that the connector will not cover. And this is then a problem. Then you can ask yourself, like, is it worth going into, let's say, some available connector that covers maybe 80% of the use cases that you need? Or would you rather go with a custom development that would then actually cover 100% of your use cases? Because that would be the goal. That's the goal of automation. If you have to handle exceptions, then why have a connector? Then you can do this manually. Like that's no point. And you can also get stuck with some other connectors that actually don't offer customization or updates. So why then deploy something that is semi-useful? Now, but this is the common problem. There is no standard. There is no standard, like for instance, for translation memories, TMX or TBX. But even there, it's not really crystal clear how should a TMX look like, or in general. So we don't have any standardization in place that will say, if you have a system, this is what we will be using. This is how we localize content, or how we streamline the workflow. So, however, there was an attempt, or there is still an attempt, a pretty good one, so to standardize this. So there was an initiative started from the organization, let's say DERCOM, German organization, that wanted to streamline this. Somebody can maybe correct me, but I think this is a 2016 initiative. And with this initiative, the organizers wanted to streamline wanted to create an interface between source systems and a TMS. Now they have separated this in 3 levels. Level 1 would be that the system that would be connecting to a TMS would create what it's called a COTI package, so a .COTI package. In practice, this is nothing else but a zip package just named COTI. And in this package, you would have translatable files, which could be XMLs, could be XLIFs, anything that's translatable. And then you would have reference files optionally. And then you would have an instructional XML. I'll show you this one later. Based on this instructional XML, a TMS would be able to tell how to create a project, would be able to create a project that would put translatable files for translation and reference files maybe in a reference repository. But I'll show you quickly that this is also not that straightforward and also not that standardized. Now, going back here to this level scheme, we then have a level, the second level, level 2. Level 2 would then support a so-called watched folder connector that would monitor a specific folder, and if a COTI package or something similar would arrive there, it would create a project automatically. The third level would then be that we would actually provide an interface, a UI, in the system, or maybe through a third party, that would connect a TMS directly with the source system. So not through a folder, but directly it would connect the 2 systems. And from there, handle packages back and forth. Now, memoQ had in the past provided support for COTI packages or zip packages. So we definitely covered level 1. We did have a watched folder that you could set up. So a watched folder, you drop files, but the limitation was that you had to create projects up front. You could not create projects dynamically, automatically. And now we resolve that. So we have created such a connector that does exactly that. So I'll show you how this then works. API, so the level 3, this is, we have seen that level 2 is most commonly requested, most commonly used. So if somebody would really wish for level 3, we can take a look into this. The question is if it's really worth it building an interface, because this is usually good enough. But let me now go back a step, so that we also talk a little bit about this problematic. So here we are talking about standardization, and translated files, as said, could be XLIFs or could be XMLs. But you can, and instructional files should also, in this initiative, be kind of standardized. But if I show you here 2 examples, this is an XML. And if you open such an example, you can see, okay, fair enough, it is an XML. But you see that this is actually an XLIF that is wrapped around, or is actually kind of augmented with some parts. And the thing is that there is no standardization on how, well, there is, but you know, how XLIFs should be structured. If we take a look, we see the 2 essential components of an XLIF. We have here the source tag, and the target tag. So this is actually where the content gets translated. So this is the essence. But what, for instance, happened here is that we have very rich meta information, additional information that also supports these translations. And this is definitely not a must if you are building XLIFs, but it's something that you can easily do. I mean, that you can do, or your system can produce. So imagine now, if we're talking about standards, that you would cover all these cases and you would be able to figure out what these do or what they should do. Because here we have, for instance, like a couple of context fields. Like, why not just one? Probably because different systems, or one system uses them differently. So this is a custom, customized XLIF wrapped in an XML. So here we are trying to talk about standards, but you see that we are already deviating from standards. So we could say, okay, I will just take a look into this part, but who knows, you know, if you're a client, maybe you want to use some of the content here. And here we're already talking about customization. And I can assure you that none of the on the market products will natively support all the possibilities that you can have with XLIFs or XMLs or any kind of connector. So this is why building custom connectors is usually the way to go if you are serious about automation. So this is XML or an XLIF. So this is something that you could see in the Koti package. Now, another thing that is then also important here is this instructional XML. Those instructional XMLs should be standardized, but they are also not really. So you can write these instructional XMLs any way you wish, honestly. So the point is, what you can do here, for instance, for this particular request, we have in this XML file the files that will be translated. And then here we have some meta information. Now the question is, what will be used for automation? For instance, we could say, I don't know, workflow, this one. We will use this as a basis for the template. Or we could say, yeah, template, that sounds fine. Or how about project settings? You know, there are possibilities, and there is no right or wrong. It's just a matter of agreement. If you say, okay, project settings, this is the template, this is how it will be. But this is then, again, a custom requirement. There is no universal interpretation on how should these fields be handled by specific connectors. So, and here we, for instance, have language definition. Basically, those numbers in this case represent languages. So there is a language mapping table that we had to incorporate so that we know, okay, this is English and this is German. So And then we have also some other things that you can also include, like the project manager, the translation step. So all of that can be included in an XML that needs to be then parsed, and there is no right or wrong. So, and different tools, of course, use different methodologies or different approaches. By the way, this was created by a competitor of ours, as you can see. So you see now the challenge that we are facing, but we are trying to standardize things. Now, the good thing here is that now we have created a solid base, or let's say a base for handling COTI-based connectors. And these can range from Schema ST4 to PIM systems, Informatica. I also saw that SAP hybrids could be used for that, even First Spirit, Content Serve. So those are all systems that can create packages, and it's actually not necessary that you have an instructional XML. Now, with the connector that we have, you can just drop, let's say, a zip file or a subfolder in a specific folder, and memoQ will be able to create dynamic projects dynamically. In the past, we already had that a couple of years ago. Then we replaced it with Content Connector that maybe you are familiar with. But the drawback is that we need to create projects upfront with Content Connector. So now we have the possibility to create projects dynamically. And I'll show you how this connector works. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The thing is that when you install it, you basically create a service, and then there is a configuration file. In this case, it looks like this. So we got the server, the API, the log path, and then the input folder, the output folder, and for this one we actually have on our archive folder, so additional one. But that's basically it. All the other settings are used in the are coming from the XML. So then you start this service, and now let me just open the log file so that I see that everything is working fine. So we have here the two folders. This is the input, this is the output, and here we got some sample files. Now I have extracted them. So for this particular request, the client did not use the extension COTI, but the logic is the same. So if you check, for instance, here we got some XML files and the instructional XML. So these files are for translation, and the instructional file is to tell memoQ how to create a project. We could also have here a subfolder with reference files, but in this case we don't. So, and if you would have the reference files in this particular connector, the reference files would land in live docs, which is also quite nice. So we put here the project. Let me just check if everything's fine here. So we will put here the connector, so the package. And now let's check for the log. So it was created. This is good. So we have a new content. We are reading instructional XML. And now we will see, if all goes well here, new content. And there we have it. Quickly created as soon as it's there. And we will not translate it because this is, let's say client data. So it's the important thing is here just the workflow, nothing else. You see also the languages. They were taken from the instructional XML, German to Bulgarian. Now the template will be the one that we have defined. So the PIM that was defined in an XML. And then you can process this project as usual. In the current configuration is set that the content is pushed back or is returned back as soon as everything is confirmed. Now you can also manually change the workflow status to completed, that should actually also work. Let me just check. Otherwise, you would do the pre-translation and all the steps. And let me just check. Okay, so in this case, the project was done, and in this particular use case, the client also wanted to have the content archived automatically. So if we go here, we have actually put the content here, but also in the archive folder. So that's how this connector then works. What is also important here, we don't work with updates, because updates from these systems or from this particular system come in the form of a new package. So if you want to recycle content using Xtranslate, we would have to do some manipulation, but this is the workflow that is currently in place. And that's how the content gets created. And as I said, you can really deploy this now, not just for Informatica PIM system, but also for other similar systems that produce some sort of a Koti-like structure. Package, be it zipped with the extension zip.koti or just raw folders, and have projects automatically created. The connector, this particular connector, can be deployed in hosted environments or on-premise environments. This is not yet supported in the cloud environment. So this is also something to notice. And yes, this is how the Koti connector works. Now let me go back to the slide, and let's talk a little bit about some other options. Now, we receive daily requests for connectivity, so sometimes we try to find solutions for clients. And I was once doing such a research, and came up with a website or two websites. They are called, well, the systems that I will mention now are platforms as a service, so PaaS. And I put here a little star because, I mean, you'll see quickly why. It's a bit sarcastic, but yeah. We have here these two systems, for instance. If you try to Google, for instance, memoQ and something connector, it may happen that you will see here this website, and I'm going to show you. I was actually a bit surprised, if not shocked. So Tray.io, this is so-called platform as a service, and here you can see connectors. So you can check all the connectors. I mean, Google was recommending me that, so I said, okay, memoQ, okay, on the list. Wow, okay. I was like, all right, but then I was checking, and I was like, all sorts of products. I was like, oh, seriously? I didn't know we have Asana connector, and or Google Drive or Airtable, and I was like, seriously? Okay. And I was curious, and I actually, and Zendesk, this is also a popular one, and I actually wrote to them and scheduled a discovery call. And guess what? It turned out that they don't even know what memoQ is, and they don't offer any connectors for memoQ. That's why I call it, it's a marketing campaign, because they are offering to build connectors. So, but they don't have any existing ones. They as I said, they don't even know what memoQ is. I mean, and if you know memoQ, you know that it's a pretty complex tool, and it's not pretty straightforward to connect to it. But in general, like, the processes are not very straightforward in translation industry, like especially if you're connecting them. And then they have this little diagram which shows basically nothing. And the question, I mean, the point is, just don't get fooled by this. If you see, oh yeah, we have a connector. No, it's not happening. The other one, and that's something that we have also discovered a while ago, and actually couple of years ago wanted to partner with them is Workato. It's a similar concept. So platform as a service, and yeah, we wanted to partner up with them. But again, so here, for instance, you can check solutions, and then we can check view all. And I was looking for at that time. No, I don't want Workato Kitchen, absolutely not. But let me check here. So for instance, I was looking for WordPress, because we have it, and yeah, some client wanted to have something special. If you check that, and then if you scroll down a little bit, you will actually see what these connectors in quotation marks actually can do. So this is an important part. What they basically do is they allow you to manipulate or manage or use in WordPress content that is displayed as a comment or a new post to be created. It doesn't say anything about websites that need localization, any statuses, nothing. I mean, this is not really useful for our industry, because we want to have, you know, content localized in different languages. I mean, okay, if you want to read a comment or create a post, then you can use this on website, but it's not meant for localization. Can you say that this is a connector? Yes. Can you say that this is a connector for localization industry or for you? I'm quite sure not. But so again, this is more like a marketing campaign, but you can also check other ones if you would be interested. So don't get fooled by this. However, we had actually here an experiment, because one colleague created a SMTP connector, or a gateway. Basically, what he did is create a connector where you would send an email to a specific address, and then once you would do this, the content, so the document, would be sent to memoQ, translated, and then you would got it back. I mean, that was a cool thing, you know. But I mean, they were also saying, yeah, we have connectors. We have 400 connectors which you can use and connect memoQ to. I mean, it's not, I mean, they have 400 connectors, but they are definitely not covering the use cases that you or we would be able to offer to the clients. But of course, they were willing to get in touch and cooperate and charge a lot of money for building connectors. But as you have seen, since the requests can be very custom, it's not possible to standardize that. So those are the two false friends. But there are actually some experts on the market that you can also reach out if you are looking for integrations. So those are definitely not the ones, but there are two that you can try out. So platforms as a service, iLanguage and Xilio. Maybe you already know them. Xilio is a Dutch company. iLanguage is a Ukrainian company. Go show them some love if you wish. So they are working in harsh environments and times. So, but still they keep the services up and running. So yeah, through them you can actually get access to some of the connectors, so some of the source systems that you maybe use. So, and they are actually specialized. For them, we have connectors, and they actually work, and they are also professional. What they do is they go and analyze your system, you analyze the content, see what you need to translate, connect to the database if necessary, and then provide you a very nice interface so that you can then control the content from there. So basically, in this case, the connection would be source system, iLanguage, memoQ. And iLanguage has an interface that you can, for instance, use to submit requests and basically push content back and forth. So they are professional, and you can check them out. Now, going a bit broader, sometimes there are some requests for connectors, and yeah, we try to find the available solutions or some hints. And yeah, sometimes we are actually also surprised that some colleagues that we know have developed something. So for instance, for Figma, our colleague Ian developed a nice import-export tool that you can then connect to and use maybe a watched folder connector. So you can try that out. Or the solution from our colleague Daniel, where you can connect your type of free system. So the thing is that what I wanted to mention is that on the web you can find such initiatives, such projects, and if you do find some and you check our website and we don't offer that, we are also very glad if we hear such information, because I for instance didn't know about this one until recently. So, but it's really great. Unfortunately, Figma now, as said, got bought by Adobe. Question is if they will merge any products, but definitely it's a great initiative. And yeah, you see that there are people in the industry that build connectors, that have the knowledge. Of course, it will also be beneficial for them. They increase the visibility. So yeah, it's really a healthy initiative for the whole industry, so that we have this open possibilities. And yeah, as I said, if you find something, please let us know. We'll be happy to promote it or recommend it to clients if we see that it's good, because everybody can benefit from that. So that's here. And now what we are working on right now, we are currently finalizing the Drupal connector. So that was also requested. This is also done through our partner, which is also very great. So you can expect that one. And the second one that we are working on is a SharePoint connector. So once we got more information, more specifications, we will definitely let you know. So Drupal is based on CMS API, so you can use templates and CMS dashboard. So yeah, it will be nice, streamlined connector, and SharePoint. Yes. So if you have any other custom requests, feel free to send us a note. We would gladly discuss them. So that would basically be it. I'm sure we will handle more connectors in the future, so you can probably expect a follow-up series sometimes in the future. And yeah, now we have some minutes for discussion. Thank you for now, and hope this was inspiring and got you give you some ideas. And yes, now let's check the chat. Do we have any questions maybe? So we have, if you go through the list, cost. Okay, you said cost and asks for both development costs, it's expensive, and what we want to pay less. So development cost 10,000 possibly, but no, not the price for customers. Yeah, okay. So yeah, definitely it's a difference. So development costs and the cost that we then price, and that we then resell this connector. Yeah, clearly there are two different things, but I can assure you that we don't like put a super high margin on that, because it's in our interest that, well, basically that we sell this, that we cover the cost, that we of course earn something. We also have to keep in consideration that we have some buffer if we need to update something, because imagine if, I don't know, Drupal changes the API or somebody else, then we also have to do some modifications. Otherwise, you'll come to us and say, hey, this is not, I mean, you will come to us that this is not working. So we have to then fix this. So this is also an important topic. So yeah, the costs for you would typically range between 5 and, well, 20 is already pretty high, but yeah, something like that. Does Qt connector allow further configuration via XPath rules for mapping metadata from the XML file? So trying to think how, I mean, you can definitely use any kind of a filter, but I'm sure Christine knows this and is not asking about this. So in the XML files, if it's instructional XML file, you can also definitely do this, but maybe Christine, you can specify this. I mean, I would say yes, but I think I'm not completely understanding the question. Anyways, let's leave this. Maybe there will be a follow-up. Is the demonstrated Qt connector a replacement for the classic content connector, or will it exist in parallel? It will definitely exist in parallel. The content connector, the classic one, well, there are plans with that one, so that there will be revamped. But this one will definitely coexist. And this Qt connector is a custom development, so it's not part of the core product. Content connector is part of the core product, and this one has a different life. And it will, I mean, the plan is that we kind of allow you to, well, it's still early, but one of the idea is that we would have such a content hub, so that this would be connected to something similar to customer portal, you know, but this is really early. So, but the answer is that definitely will exist in parallel. Is there a way to watch source language images with target, to map source language images with target language images, supposing they are not the same? That is probably related to website, so that you would maybe link them, if I got the question correctly. So I would say, yeah, but if that is the question, I would say it would be possible theoretically, but in practice, yeah, I mean, just based on the names, I think you could, I mean, based on the names or some other meta information, or if the information would be available in some sort of an instructional XML, that could be possible. I mean, theoretically, but we can discuss this if you have any specific, if you can present the use case, then we can gladly talk about it. Are you considering pricing connectors based on throughput rather than a fixed price to make it available for smaller clients, and could be selling points to entice new clients we can automate, not just for, yeah, that's a good question. This is a business question. The idea was already passed around. Currently it's still per deployment, let's say, or per subscription. Throughput could be done, but currently, as it is, we don't have the capacity to basically allow this. So for instance, I don't know, if you would have the number of API calls or something similar, that maybe could be used, or something similar, or number of words processed. Yes, I mean, theoretically yes, but currently this is not planned yet in the short term, I would say. So, but it's an idea, it's an initiative. Some also do it like that. In case there is a smaller deployment, Well, we can also talk about the pricing. Yeah, I mean, they are not the cheapest ones. I mean, the connectors in general as products, but still, like if you want to handle automation in a, let's say, professional way, well, yeah, it requires some sort of an investment. But then think about, like, if you're really struggling with automation, then this would pay off eventually. So if you're doubting if it's worth it, yeah, we can discuss it. But yeah, the goal is that we really cover majority of the work where automation is really a pain. So if there is no instructional XML file, can you extract it from the XML files? That you would have. Yeah. So yeah. Well, if others do have that, then we should also probably do that as well. So yeah, but currently it's not configured that way. It's not structured that way. But yeah, you can send us an example, and we'll tell quickly. So that should not be a problem. Okay, that would be it. Do we have any other questions, maybe, or sub questions? If I didn't answer all that clearly or provided the full answer, please write to me, and I'll try to also talk with the colleagues and provide you the satisfactory answer. So welcome. Feel free to write me an email.
Thank you very much, Jure, for this amazing presentation and for all the answers in the questions. I don't see any other questions, so I think we are good to go now. Thank you everyone for joining and listening to the presentation. You will receive the. Oh, sorry, one last question just came in. Just answer this one. How did you came across the Figma plugin?
Yeah, the offer itself. Google. I think it was Google. Yeah, one of the colleagues discovered this. So thank you, Ian, for helping that out, helping with that one. It was good. We tested it. Worked.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining. You will receive the recordings, I think, in 1 or 2 weeks. You will receive an email about that for sure. And thank you again, Jure, for the presentation, and have a lovely day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, and take care. Bye-bye.